Hey, I wanted to just talk for a few minutes about homeschooling with toddlers. This can be one of the most challenging seasons of homeschooling. You're trying to teach an older child to read, or maybe teach basic math concepts to school age children while you have a toddler dumping things on the floor and making noise and generally being super busy and creative and fun, but also distracting. How do you do it? What do you do with these toddlers while you're homeschooling? One of the first things that I recommend for families who are homeschooling with toddlers is to really simplify all the homeschooling. There was a list that I've talked about in all of my resources. It's called 10 Things to Do Before Age 10. And it was originally published by Harvey and Lori Bluedorn of the triviumpursuit.org. And in this list, they talk about the simple things that are important to do with children who are younger than 10. These things are habit training, having your child work with you each day to learn to make their bed. And this is something you can do in a group with the oldest to the toddler. Having your children know how to put their own clothes away, how to tidy up their room. All of these little practical life skills are great for motor skills development, for processing skills, for organization that works on brain organization that makes it easier to read and do things like that. So, some habit training is great to do with those children below age 10. Also, read lots of stories to children younger than 10. Each one of the Peaceful Press resources includes amazing book lists so that you have lots to choose from. But each day, as you read out loud to your children, from the 10-year-old down to the toddler, even the infant can be there, you are helping them develop phonemic awareness. You are helping them understand how words go together. They're getting the beauty of language, imagination, vocabulary. There are so many things that are translated as we read out loud to our children. So spend time doing that every day. Another thing that you can do with those children younger than age 10 is work on motor skills. Children will catch on to handwriting and composition more quickly if they have well developed fine motor skills and large motor skills, even tracking skills like visual tracking. So, as your younger children are helping you pin clothes on a clothesline or helping you whisk up a batch of pancakes, or as they are putting their clothes in their drawers or making their bed, all of these things are helping with those fine and large motor skills, which are going to help them when they get ready for academic and seat work. So work on motor skills. And in each of the Peaceful Press resources, we include motor skills work as well. Another thing to do with those children who are younger than age 10 is develop good routines. So, it's kind of like those habits where they start to feel a rhythm for the day. They start to feel comfortable in the day. Things are a little bit predictable. And just like as you're doing with those good habits of, brushing your teeth in the morning or making your bed, having a daily flow can help your children feel comfortable in the day, know what they can expect, and it helps them with some of that sequencing and processing. Another thing you can do with those children younger than 10 is just playing creative games together, either letting them play with creative tools and toys, things like a toy kitchen, a little broom and dustpan, blocks, dress up clothes. So creative play that's on their own, and then even some games that they could play with you. Maybe even games that it wouldn't be a big deal if the toddler were around, games where you're holding the cards in your hand, or games where it's on a table maybe and the toddler could have something they're doing on the floor, but things that are not quite so engrossing as a full lesson. So as you're doing these things, counting and math and different kinds of games, reading out loud to them, working on motor skills and working on habits and routines, a lot of the groundwork is being laid so that if you need to take it a little bit easier on homeschooling in those first few grades while you have toddlers, because most of us aren't going to be having toddlers around forever. It's just a short season. So if you can take it a little bit easier with the homeschooling in those years and just focus on some of the things I talked about, which can be done with the toddlers around. You can, be reading a story while the toddler is maybe playing with blocks on the floor. You can be working on making a bed while the toddler's following along. You can be playing some games or doing some arts and crafts or some creative play with the toddler underfoot, it's not quite as intense as having your children all sitting at a desk and giving a full lesson. That is a little bit harder to do with toddlers underfoot. I recognize that. So if you can focus on some of these more natural and family-centered learning experiences in that season when you have toddlers around, then it's going to be a lot easier to transition into more efficient learning and into that seat work, the handwriting, the math worksheets, things like that after you get past that little season. So focusing on more family-centered learning in those years before age 10, and then 7 to 10 years old, starting to transition them into more seat work. The Finnish schools have been doing this kind of delayed seat work. Also, Waldorf schools do the same, where there's a delayed time for learning to read and write. So don't worry about your kids falling behind as you keep reading to them and talking about words. And even if you want to do some reading practice like flashcard words or salt letter words, things like that, you can incorporate a lot of learning in just short increments that aren't going to burn out the toddler while you're trying to homeschool. So keep it family centered, focus on some simple learning activities that are inclusive, and create a more peaceful homeschool. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe to my channel. You can subscribe to our email list and get free samples of all of our resources. I've linked those below. Thanks again for watching.